Okay, story number one. And this is William James. He came from a very accomplished family. And his brother Henry, hugely successful writer. Well, William was in his 30s and floundering. He was very unaccomplished. He'd wanted to be a painter, but then quit that and enrolled in med school. But then he quit med school to do a expedition on the Amazon, and then he ended up giving up on that. So he had a moment of reckoning, and he kept a diary, so this is how we know about this. And he questioned his innate capacity to do anything productive in his life. In fact, he questioned if he should be alive at all. So this is a serious moment of reckoning. And so he was hitting bottom, but he decided he wasn't going to do anything rash until he tried something out. So he conducted a 1-year experiment. And the 1-year experiment was a lot like our little experiment, our reflection, where he basically said, I'm going to act as if there's hope. That was his experiment, that whenever thoughts, limiting thoughts, it won't happen, you don't have what it takes, he would just notice them, step out of them, and just assume possibility. Okay? So he was doing the as if things could get better, and that as if allowed him to open to possibility. He started aligning himself, getting more engaged with what interested him. That year he married, he started teaching at Harvard, he joined a study group called the Metaphysical Club. He wrote a very buoyant letter sometime later. He said, I possess for the first time an intelligible and reasonable conception of freedom. Okay, the freedom to manifest who we are. And that's what the hope is. Hope is for the freedom to really be all we can be. So just to comment on his process, his way was he had some aspiration, because he said, I'm going to conduct a 1-year experiment. That means he wanted freedom, right? That's step number one. Step number two, he had a strategy for coming back to beingness, which was to put aside the thoughts which really obscured presence, which is something we train in, to notice the thoughts that are getting in the way. The Buddha said, whatever a person frequently thinks and reflects on, that will become the inclination of their mind. So do your thoughts, this is what we ask ourselves, do our thoughts arouse a sense of hopefulness and openness and interest, potential, creativity? Or do we have thoughts that tell us what's going to go wrong and what we can't do, that create doubt and discontent? Okay, so that was his strategy. And as that started to work, he started finding that when those thoughts, the limiting thoughts, were no longer obscuring what was here, his energy really woke up and he started aligning himself in a very kind of spontaneous, creative way and found his way to being really a great influential thinker of the century.